Hey guys, this is Rurouni K95 here. Today I'm going to be doing a new discussion type of video. I haven't thought of doing one before, which I haven't thought of until now, is that today's discussion we're going to be talking about buying former library copies of manga that were donated to the library, or that were originally from the library, but now that were used for book sales, because I wanted to do something just to get a little head starters for that one as well. So for the thing particularly is that I have been buying manga since 2016 at a library book sale. Or was it 2015? Yeah, I think this was 2015, which I remembered as well. In order to basically of how I wanted to come by on buying a lot of manga from the book sale, because especially the ones that with these former library bindings on here, once you buy them, in order to start to have your manga collection, is basically you're gonna have to like remove all these library bindings and those sticker ones with the scan codes on the former library copies of manga, especially that they were discarded from the library book sale as well. If you buy them for like dirt cheap as well, like if you buy them in bulk, especially in order to start your journey to start a manga collection as well, because I have been buying every titles of manga on here. For example, like from manga artists, like once of them that I buy though, which is easier to own as well. From every manga titles by authors in general, including as well as publishers. For example, like Viz Media, ADV Manga, which is now defunct. What other ones on the Kodansha Comics, Tokyo Pop, on every other occasions as well. And also, same with manga titles that I buy from those library book sales on here. For example, like Yu Yu Hakusho, Ranma 1/2, Fushigi Yugi, The Mysterious Play, Rurouni Kenshin, Azumanga Daioh, Hero Tales, Hikaru no Go, Gravitation, Bleach, Inuyasha, on every other manga titles in general, especially from all that are part in the general of the whole manga titles, from different types of mangaka artists in a variety of ones. Like, for example, like from manga artists like Nobuhiro Watsuki, Rumiko Takahashi, Yoshihiro Togashi, Yuwatase, on etc. on every several occasions on here, especially if you ever buy a manga that is basically from a book sale at your local library. Like, well, most of them were former library copies. Some of them were also donated to the library, especially when they gotten rid of their manga, which, especially if they, on a certain series that they finished reading, or if they dropped a certain manga series that they could not finish reading, unless they drop a series on there, then it's easier for them. It's like basically they could donate it to the library as well, on every occasions as well, especially if you could buy them for like 25 cents or 50 cents or $1 each on these manga books on here, for like cheaper to get as well than it was with Amazon or Right Stuff or eBay as well. Yeah, basically you could see these manga books that you could find at the occasional donations that were donated to the library, like especially that were for the book sale, as well as the occasional of how I wanted to come by on this as well. And for the thing about this as well as every manga titles that you could find at the library book sale, especially that were former library copies, the same goes with ones that were donated to the library when they were for the book sale, by every manga genre. For example, like mecha, shonen, rom-com, martial arts, slice of life, romance, and supernatural, or dark fantasy, or any genre in manga, on every occasional top genre topics of how it's depicting in the setting of how manga. There's also isekai also, and shoujo. Let's not forget about those as well. Particularly, most of the manga books that were donated to the library, especially for the book sale though. Let me take this for example, because most of them never have library bindings, but the ones that were donated to the library, let's say for example, like I have a couple volumes of Tenjo Tenge manga. This one, apparently I think this was volume 5 and volume 8. This was published by CMX Manga on here. Yeah, this was donated to the library, in which how all means is this, of all sorts as well. Yeah. This explains why that they were donated to the library as well, because because some of them basically might have, I guess they might have dropped the manga title when they have it in their manga titles they've dropped on there, or technically they might have gotten rid of because might have having lack of shelf space, or there's not enough room, or basically they wanted, or some of them were never bought for Facebook marketplaces in general, especially if you have like, you're supposed to have like up to like complete volumes on there if they need to sell it for cash to make ends meet on Facebook marketplaces as well. Well, technically though, is that most of these manga books also, whether it's new, old, or vintage in general, particularly, most of them in there, like say for example on manga books that are translations on here, for example like English translated manga in its original Japanese, on every several occasions as well. Let's take for example about most manga books that were never translated in English, but it's only in Japanese, that were also donated to the library. Let's say, take for example, on a types of manga on some sorts as well. Let's say for example, like I have a bunch of these manga volumes of Saint Young Men. These are like 25 cents each when I first bought these from the library in the book sale, because these were donated to the library originally. Like if you buy these for like 25 cents each, right? Like 20, 50, $95, $1.25, $1.50. Like especially if you buy like particularly for like $1.50 for these manga books on here, like that were 25 cents each, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 6. If you buy 6 of these manga books for like $1.50 on those as well. Yeah, because that could help you get you covered to start a manga collection as well, in order to start to become a manga reader, particularly of how I wanted to come by. And most of all this as well. Unlike most manga books, like, well, they were donated to the library as well. Let's say, for example, they gotten rid of those because they wanted to upgrade to get those Viz Big Edition manga books on here. Let's take, for example, on here, I have here. Let's say I have this copy of Vagabond Volume 5 manga. This is the older edition of the manga from that. I think this was published like 2003. So I'm thinking that this might be the old edition on here. Yeah, because this was originally donated to a library on there, especially when I had to buy this because they wanted to prefer to buy like these Viz Big Edition ones, which is I have no problem with. But pretty soon I might get those Viz Big Edition ones of Vagabond at this point. But don't worry, there's always a collecting journey every manga collector has as well. And so, like most of these Viz graphic novel editions of the original manga on here that were originally donated to the library, especially the ones that were published in the early 2000s or the 90s, which I have realized of here what I have noticed about. Let's say, for example, like I have this copy of Silent Mobius Volume 10 manga. This is the old edition from 2003 on there. Because I have a feeling basically that this is the old edition of this particular manga like that as well. But before this basically gets things going as well, because I haven't read this one, but I've heard good things about Silent Mobius manga, but I have never seen the anime though, but I wanted to check out the manga though, particularly as well. Like, if you buy a manga for like 25 cents each or 50 cents each, that could help you like get a lot of money you can use to like save up some money, especially if you, despite from having your rainy day funds, or you can go to, or money from your allowances, or especially if you have help with mowing the lawns or doing chores and etc. like that as well. On top of that, this is basically how I wanted to come by for how you wanted to get like manga, of how you ever wanted to buy them at the library book sale as well, whenever the library is having a book sale particularly. Like, if you could find a manga book that was either a former library copy, you could take out these former library bindings that, like the ones that were discarded from the library though, and there's other manga also that were basically I think they were donated to the library on here. It doesn't matter if it's in English or Japanese on there as well, of how I come across, particularly whenever I come by on buying manga books that are in Japanese on here. It depends from the manga publishers on here, especially for example like Flower Comics and Kodansha Japanese ones as well. Let's say, for example, like I have Volume 5 of Yasha. This is basically the first time I wanted to get this manga I have ever bought as well. Yeah, just because this manga is not even in English though, but I can understand that this is in Japanese though. So yeah. Yeah, it's published by Akimi Yoshida. So most of these manga books that are printed in Japanese comes in these like dust jackets as well. As how I understand why I had to buy those as well. Well, technically though is that. I wanted to come by for this one as well. And for some of this thing is that you would expect to learn over the facts is that you could know for however you wanted to come by on collecting manga as well. And most of the other manga books that you could find in the languages sections, but if you ever see a manga book that was translated in Cantonese on here, and you could but you just don't know if you realize what it was, or if you don't know if it's named, but if you read the manga, but you just don't know what manga, what it was in there, in the English title of the original manga. But if you have read it and you recognize it, then that'll be the perfectly to own on here. Well, I have most of those manga books that were, some of them I bought that ones that were translated in Mandarin. Like, say for example, like I have some Kimaguri Orange Road manga ones as well, because most of them were translated in Cantonese because they were not even in English as well. And also, same goes with the other ones, like I have Bleach Volume 38 manga, which is published in Taiwanese, which is from Tongli Publishing, which is a Mandarin translation of the original Japanese manga on there. Not necessarily making their own, but it's basically the translation of the original Japanese manga of the same source material as well. Well, like, especially, there were the obvious reasons, though. Of course, what I wanted to know about this. Like, say, for example, on here, like, I have this copy of Soul Eater Volume 12. This manga is basically in Cantonese on there. Yeah, because at the end of the page on there, it says, first published in Japan in 2008 by Square Enix on there. And it was translation in Mandarin by Sharppoint arranged with Square Enix and Sharppoint Press on here. Yeah, because I had to buy this for any occasional reasons as well. In case you're wondering, to learn over the fact as well. Yeah. Which this does remind me, I gotta get back into the guide to manga in Cantonese for the video translated ones on there. Like, especially the ones that you have never saw one in the language section at your local library, but you just don't know what it was, or if you know if it's named. Which this does remind me, I might cover that in the future as well. But for that as well, most of these here, if you ever buy manga in bulk, especially at a book sale at your local library, whether it's former library copies that were discarded, or the ones that, and same with these other manga books that were also donated to the library as well, especially in order when there is a book sale, or if anybody can buy it as well. For every reasons, take, for example, like incomplete volumes, or completed volumes, omnibuses, and single volume mangas as well, on every other occasions on there. And also, if there's any manga you could find at a book sale at your local library, whether it's donated to the library or a former library copy of a manga on here, which I can take, for example, like paperback manga books, hardcover manga books, thick manga books in paperback, like a phone book length ones, on every other occasions. For example, like these omnibuses on there, on every several occasions. Types of them, of all kinds of this. But it all comes in surprises as well. So basically, if you ever want to find a manga book like you don't have, or like sometimes if you ever want to find a manga book that was originally a former library copy, or a discard, or the ones that were discarded, or the ones that were donated to the library as well, and there is nothing, try to be flexible, and you have to go to a different library if you ever find a manga book that was basically at a different library for a good cheaper way, if it's either 50 cents or 25 cents for or even $1 for a manga at a different library location. If it's a manga book that was donated to the library, or those former library copies of manga books that were originally discarded that nobody checked out at the library as well, because they have gotten rid of them because they wanted newer manga books to be added to the library, especially at a local library. Of how they wanted to come by for this one, is that they could know for any type of reason of how they could do this some sorts as well. And on top of that, this could be the big reason is that most of them as well, like if you don't find a manga book, or if there is none at your library book sale on here, especially if there was either a donated copy or a former library copy that no one checks out, which is discarded on here, you might want to go to a different library if you could ever find one there. I mean, that would help, that will change things up to get you a little more motivated, especially for base of how I wanted to buy a manga book as well. For me though, especially if you want to get all the manga books on here, and you're collecting manga at a library book sale, they have the $5 per bag on here, where they could put all the ones that you bought from the book sale on here, especially if you could pay some of the cash on there. So yeah, like say for example, like if you want to buy a manga book for like $1 each on here, like approximately like for like under $1, like let's say like how many, for example, like if you buy 10 manga books at a library book sale at a different library location, that could be approximately up to like $10, or if you bought 12 of them, that'll be like in the range of $12, especially if you ever want to go to a library book sale. Particularly, I mean, if you ever want to go to a different library book sale, like if you buy these manga books that are 18 of them, or that are 25 cents each, that could help you start your manga collection in order to buy those manga books on here, which is more different from buying anime on DVDs or Blu-rays or on VCD as well. But for the thing about manga books is that in order to make your manga collection look better, is you can just remove these library bindings off of them to make them look better, just because you bought them from a library on there. So if the ones that were donated to the library that were never former library copies, but the ones that were donated, as long as it's the ones that have no binding sticker on it, on these former on the donated library book sale copy ones, like the ones that were donated to the library, that will make it better on here. Just to how, in order to make your manga collection look better as well, particularly. Which this does remind me, because someday I might get another shelf for my manga collection, though, because I haven't thought of a manga collection, like a shelf on here, because despite that I have over 246 plus volumes of manga in my manga collection, that basically how I'm starting to have a lot of manga books on here, like, accordingly as well. And then afterwards, basically, you would ever want to buy a manga book at your book sale at your local library as well, in order to become like a manga collector. And then afterwards is that you could start like manga haul videos, especially if you buy like manga books that were like cheaper to get, especially for like in the price range is like from under 25 cents to like like $1. On most of them on different library locations, like every manga book that was donated to the every types of local libraries, and they're in order when they were having a book sale, apparently of how they wanted to come by for this, according of how, which is beyond that of all sorts as well, because that's the thing for buying former library copies of manga, as well as buying manga books that were donated to the library. That would help you start your manga collection, that's why. So that's going to be it for my video for today, you guys. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's what I'm going to say for this video. Looking back where I did my previous discussion video where I talked about buying former library DVD and Blu-ray copies of anime, and why not I could do for buying former library copies of manga, just to help you start your manga collection. That will get you help going as well, which this will help you get helpful things for manga collectors out there as well. Hope subscribe for content. My anime planet link in the description down below. Patreon link will be in the description down below. If you want to check out my anime planet, because link will be in the description down below, because I have a backlog of manga and anime on my anime planet account. Patreon link will be in the description down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below on this video if you like as well. Let me know as well. Be sure to smack the like button if you enjoy this video. Be sure to click on the subscribe button. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, RoninK95. Feel free to join my channel, especially if you're new to my channel as a newcomer. Smack the notifications bell button. Be sure to get notified also as well for more latest updates on here. And that's all I got for this one. Keep it otaku for this video, because this is the first time I wanted to do a discussion about buying former library copies of manga. Will help you start your manga collection, because that would help get me going. Now that I'm basically a manga collector as well. This is RoninK95 saying thank you for watching my video. I'm glad you liked it. Hope you enjoy it. Hope to see you soon for the next video. Hope you have a great day. This is RoninK95 signing off, and thank you for watching my video. And I will see you soon for more videos. Take care. Bye.